Hey, everybody, we're back with another episode of the Steel Target Paint Podcast. Jeff Jones and Steve Foster, and we've got a special guest on today. But you know, Steve, we start each of these off with, what have you been shooting? So tell everybody, what have you been shooting?
Well, Jeff, last weekend I was at the Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association World Rimfire match, so that's what I was shooting, a little bit outside of what I normally do, but I had a great time. How about you, Jeff? What have you been shooting lately?
Well, last weekend was supposed to be our match at the WAC, and a big storm came through, and we got rained out. So I've just been practicing, getting ready for Area 6 this weekend.
Awesome.
So, Steve, I want to do one little thing before we get into the interview. I've been on Rimfire race guns, and I just want to do a couple call-outs. One, did you see the smoke and runs that Lance Bratcher had put down in Rimfire rifle?
Hey, you know what, Jeff? I'm not sure if many people know this, but we just picked him up as a secondary sponsored shooter, and I was fortunate enough to meet him out in Arkansas. And man, that kid's a madman with a rifle. He's having the time of his life, which is really, really cool. He's been messaging me on Facebook. We're going back and forth, and man, it was like a 136 or so, somewhere in there.
I think his last run was a 136, and I swear he ran it differently than he ran all the other ones.
Maybe he found the key to success.
Well, the other one, the next one I want to call out is you. I saw a post about your CWA race guns. Now, the post said you're getting 14 seconds faster per string.
No. 0.14, Jeff.
Are you sure? I didn't see a decimal point in there. Maybe it was blocked on my Facebook page.
Maybe it was. You know, I've told my wife for years that these little fat fingers, it should be classified as a disability. I'm looking at it right now. It says I am approximately 0.14 seconds quicker, Jeff.
Okay, so I'm going to blame it on my eyes.
I think you need to go to the optometrist, and that's with Hunter's HD Gold. He makes some of the best shooting glasses in the business.
The last call out I saw is I want to say congratulations to Maria Grimes. She made master in rimfire rifle. She and Kurt were over in England shooting a steel challenge match over there. Did you get to see that pistol he had to put together to shoot over there?
Oh, wow. I was intimidated. Maybe because it's longer, I would shoot that better than a regular pistol. I don't know. But the cool part in talking with Kurt about his experience, spent a couple hours on the phone over the last, couple days chit-chatting with him about our friends over there at Ely and Mark and Michael and all those folks that are so fantastic over there. And he said, man, everybody loved the gun. It ran like a demon. I said, hey, you know what? Any gun that runs like a demon's a gun that people want to buy. And somehow he made it back out of the country with the gun, or at least that's what he's telling me.
Well, I was wondering if instead of shooting the targets, he could just tap them with that gun, because that barrel seemed to be huge.
Oh, I know. And then they've got that post, I'm not sure if it's 16 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches, whatever it is, on the back of the gun that's hooked to the grip. I'm not sure exactly where that lock comes from, but I could imagine transitioning and this rod keeps hitting you on the inside of your arm. Talk about distracting.
Well, let's get in today's episode. We have a very special guest. Why don't you tell everybody who we have?
Yeah, we've got Heather Martin. She's the president of the Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association. How you doing, Heather?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
It seems like so long since I've last seen you. Oh, it's only been a couple days.
Oh, yeah, I know. Just a few days. In that wonderful, steamy Arkansas, rainy, sunny, humid weather.
Oh, yeah. That first day when we pulled up to the range. Jeff, have you ever been to the old
Fort Gun?
Yeah, have you been there, Jeff?
I have not.
It's interesting because there's two roads into the facility. It's really kind of like the same road, you know what I mean? It does like a 90-degree, and the gun clubs kind of take a left. But the GPS said, hey, I go down this paved road, and it turned into a dirt road, and, well, then it turned into like I'm in a farmer's field, Jeff. I'm like tapping the Waze. Hasn't taken me too far out of the way from time to time, but yeah, I was starting to get concerned. My daughter's looking at me like, Daddy, are we going the right way? I said, yeah, sure, honey. She's like, Daddy, give me the phone. Yeah, it was a good experience. But I'm telling you what, it's pretty wet out there. We got there on Thursday because we were helping Larry set up for the Steel Target Paint side batch, and then Chet said he was going to be hanging around, and so of course my new gun was there. I was like, "Hey, could you hold still? I'll be there in 36 minutes." So we went out there, man. On Thursday there was mosquitoes, man. I think it's the state bird in Arkansas. Those things are like 3 inches long, so thank goodness we had some spray. But that's another story.
Small pterodactyls, eh?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen them like that since 2017 South Carolina State match. How you doing, Zach Jones? You remember that, Zach? Zach, are you listening? Hey, Jeff, I'm not sure if Zach told you that or not, but on all those match shirts going forward, he had a mosquito with like a circle with a bar going through them.
Yes, I have those shirts.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where that comes from.
Well, Heather, you approached us with an interesting idea, and we're going to run with it. So why don't you tell everybody what your idea is?
Well, tonight I am getting to help run this podcast and interview one of your regular hosts here. And that would be interviewing Steve Foster about his experience at the World Rimfire match that he was just at.
That's awesome. I love it. Go for it.
Okay,
Heather, take it away.
So, Jeff, you can sit back, kick your feet up, have a beverage, and chime in when you feel like it.
I was going to say, have you listened to the podcast? If you're going to ask me to be quiet, it's not going to happen.
Hang on, I'm looking on our tool here. Is there a mute? No, I can't find it. Okay, go ahead. Heather, I've been looking for like 12 and a half months for that mute button, but I haven't found it yet.
Well, I have to be nice since I'm the guest host here that I cannot mute him. So he gets to speak all he wants. Otherwise, I might be muted.
I'm feeling intimidated already. I don't know how good I'm going to be at answering these questions. We'll see how it goes.
Well, first off, thank you guys for this opportunity. And Steve, thank you for coming to the 2019 Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association World Rimfire. It was exciting to see you there. So was this your first World Rimfire match that you've been to?
It was not. It was my third. I shot 2016 and 2017 at Cavern Cove, and unfortunately I did not make 2018, and I was fortunate to be able to squeak in there in the last minute. Jeff, it's good to have some friends.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you a little quick story about how all that happened, because I don't feel as though that I was nearly close to being prepared for the match as I would like, but you know, a lot of people say that. I think the common phrase of when you were walking around talking to shooters, because they were very, very technical stages, and I'm sure we'll get into that at some point. It's like, hey, how you shooting? I don't know, and it's okay, it's not that good. Hey, Nate Gibson, how you shooting? I'm having fun. I'm like, yeah, okay. It was like that. And I saw Colby, he was shooting rifle, and they were right behind us, and I said, man, Colby, how you shooting? He's like, man, I don't know. It's not looking good. And what we didn't realize, Jeff, is like 3.5 seconds on a rifle stage, that was blistering.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, to make a long story short, I haven't really talked much about this, but my oldest daughter, Vanessa, she's 12 years old, and she's actually having a major back surgery that's going to happen here in a couple weeks. We found out literally in August that she's got a severe case of scoliosis that just kind of like happened really, really quick. And so she's going to have about 75% of her back fused. And so her mother and I were talking about with her and like, hey, is there anything you want to do or a trip or so on and so forth? And so she couldn't make up her mind. So I was heading to the Mississippi State Steel Challenge match, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, something like that. She said, hey, Daddy, who's going to be going there? And I said, well, Grant's going to be there, Connor Moody's going to be there, the Cunningham sisters are going to be there, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, hey, can I come with you? And I'm like, sure. Up until this point, and Heather, she really hasn't had a lot of interest in shooting or anything like that. But a lot of these folks have, Grant specifically, I've got a great relationship with Grant. He's been over to my house, and him and Billy have stayed here for a week or so, and we've done some training and whatnot. And so that's the same things happen with, Matt Gallagher and his daughter Bailey Gallagher, and at the Georgia match, they stayed with us and did some training and did some shooting and all that kind of stuff. And unbeknownst to me, my oldest daughter, Vanessa, talks to Bailey every single day. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So she's like, hey, can I go with you? I'm like, sure. So she came to the match, and Mike and Elsie Baker were there, and, just a bunch of folks. And so she's like, hey, she literally had the time of her life. And then, so after we got back from the Mississippi match, she says, Daddy, I know what I want to do for this little trip. I'm like, where? You want to go over to Switzerland or something, or what? That's a long story. She's into Marcus and Martinez. They're like a thing. That's another podcast all by itself. So she's like, hey, Daddy, you going to the World Rimfire Championship? I said, no, I've got Area 6 coming up, which is this upcoming weekend, and then the Florida State match, which is a couple weeks after her surgery. She saw, Daddy, I remember what we talked about? And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying here. She said, I want to go. And I'm like, we looked at the price of flights, and at this point, I don't know what it was, Heather, 2 weeks ago? Or
Yeah, it was just a couple weeks before.
A couple weeks before the match or something like that. I don't know. It was like 8 days or something, Jeff. She's being kind. I said, hey, Heather, you got any spots open? She's like, no. I said, really? And so I was able to, there were some cancellations and whatnot, was able to squeeze into the match. And, it was, we looked at flying, which was, $1,500, or driving. And so we made a road trip out of it. It was 10.5 hours each way, not including stopping. But she had the time of her life. So that was really, really cool and really special.
And next year, we're going to hope to see her out there shooting side by side with you.
Yeah, that's kind of, it's interesting. She's into it. My critical mistake as a father, I've got a lot of them, but one of them is that each of the girls individually a couple of years ago were, shooting a little bit. And this is before, Heather, I'm not sure if you know, but I moved about 1.5 years ago, and I've got a home range now.
Here it comes. Let's hear it.
I wasn't sure, if you listen to the podcast, Heather, I haven't talked about it in a while.
And I'll second that, we've got a nice range at our house, too, that we're expanding.
Everybody's got a range now.
I knew I was in good company, Jeff. So we would go to South River Gun Club and shoot a little bit, this and that. And the calculated mistake that I made is I took both girls at the same time about 2 years ago, and it was kind of a fight for my attention, and then both girls stopped cold turkey. So in the last couple of weeks, Vanessa, my little one, I call her a little one, she's 10 now, Olivia, they've all been shooting maybe once or twice a week for the last couple of weeks. So we'll see where it goes. Vanessa's having a little bit of a difficult time because she's left-eye dominant and right-handed, so she's trying to figure that out a little bit. But hopefully not this upcoming weekend, the weekend after, we have our Griffin local match. So Vanessa plans to go, so I'm still gonna try to talk her into shooting. But she loves my CWA Oreo Blizzard guns. I know I've had Kelly out there on Instagram. She's like, Steve, so what are you gonna do with that gun? Sorry, Kelly, it's already been taken. Awesome.
Well, Steve, as somebody who now is getting his daughters involved in the sport, and somebody who shoots a lot of field challenge, and you've already referenced tonight about some of the stages and how technically challenged the World Rimfire Challenge match was. Can you explain to some of the listeners from your experience some of the main differences that you've seen between Rimfire Challenge and Steel Challenge, and how are you using that experience to teach your daughters and talk to them about the differences in the two sports?
That's a great question. I think that's like a 2-hour podcast by itself, Heather. I think that it's been interesting since the World Rimfire match. It used to be NSSF that owned it, I guess, until 2 years ago, something like that. So there was always like a strong presence in Alabama, which isn't that far from us. But since the World Rimfire match last year went to Missouri or whatnot, for whatever reason, there hasn't been a state match until Chuck and Diana Ashcraft took it over, and we shot one, I think, in 2017. But outside of that, I haven't been to really a Rimfire match since then. But I will say I really started shooting beginning of 2016 in terms of taking this stuff competitive and serious and all this kind of jazz. And so Rimfire Challenge.
You're serious about this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, serious about shooting.
I would have never guessed, Steve.
Yeah. I'm popping up everywhere.
Yes, I know. You just everywhere. No, keep going.
But my heart really is in Rimfire Challenge because I've got one of the best opportunities, and Jeff and I were talking about this the other day, is that I started really February 2016, and I have to go back in my memory. I'm getting older. Not as old as Jeff, by the way, but I'm getting a little bit older, so I can't remember stuff. Hey, Jeff, you still
Hello, senior citizen. That's abuse.
All right, just checking with you. But it was at the 2016 Mississippi Rimfire Challenge, I guess. Again, it was NSSF at the time. Had their state championship, and I'd only shot. I think that was really my first Rimfire, two-gun type match I ever shot. And so, I'm there, and that's the first time I met Steve Cole and Piper and, a couple of other folks. And so I got squatted. So I pull up this range and talk about human. Oh, my goodness. I wish I knew Zeke Clear and Hunter's H to Gold back then. So we pull up this range, and, I get squatted, and everybody's kind of, like looking around. There's a couple people with jerseys on. I've got my eyes out shirt and shorts on. And so I get on the squad, and I see these couple steel target paint jerseys. First time I met Teddy Gartman. First time I met Matt Cowan. So it's crazy, right? And then there's this guy up there. He's got this Rainbow Technology shirt on, and he's got this can kind of upside down. He's like, "Yeah, this is steel target paint." I'm kind of like, "What the heck is this all about?" So I squatted with Larry Steely, and we're just BSing, trying to keep this kid-friendly podcast, but we were BSing, and I'm always interested in people that are entrepreneurs, and he talked about his dad starting the business and all that kind of stuff. And so I was fortunate to it was interesting because we got to the end, and they didn't post the match scores, kind of like what they do today. They don't do that kind of thing. And they said, well, yeah, limited third place is Cooter, and second place is Bob, and then first place is in limited Steve Foster. Everybody like, hey, I'm like, yeah, hey, what's up, everybody? Everybody, you see people start whispering, who the heck's that? And I'm like,
this guy came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm from Georgia. Thanks for all the prizes. And then we got into, and people were clapping, which was cool. And then we got into open, and third place was, it may have been Piper, but she won, I think, high junior. And then second place was Billy Bob. I'm not sure who it was. And then first place, like, and it's is this right? Yeah, it's Steve Foster again. And so there was like one person clapping in the back. And, yeah, I know. Steve took all the fun out of this match. I'm like, hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for the prizes. We'll see you later. And Larry says, hey, why don't you hold this can of steel target paint, and I'll post this picture out later. And Piper as well, and said, yeah, what's this for? Hey, just smile. And, so he got a picture of Piper and I holding steel target paint cans, my Tactical Solutions shirt. I'm like, yeah. He says, hey, you're pretty good at this, huh? And I said, yeah. I said, he says, are you sponsored? Well, I got this thing going on with Tactical Solutions and SJC, and I'm waiting on a jersey. And he said, oh, no, you need to wear a steel target paint jersey. And I'm like, yeah, okay, buddy. I was like, yeah, whatever. He said, no, man, here's my card. Call me. And so we were riding home from the range. And my wife's like, man, you're not really going to call that guy, are you? I said, I don't know. So I put it in the top drawer of my desk, and I'm like, maybe. So a week later, it was probably 2 weeks later, I pick up the phone, and I was like, hey, is this Larry? He's like, yeah, who the hell's this? And I'm like, hey, it's Steve. Steve. Hey, the guy from Mississippi? And he dropped his phone. At least that's what it sounded like. He's like, man, I didn't think you were going to call me. And I said, you know what? If I listened to my wife, I wouldn't have called you either. And so I guess that was in end of June, beginning of July. And he said, you ever shoot a world speed shoot before? And I said, yeah, I shot one. He said, well, I'm going to get us a plane ticket. We're heading to California. And at that point, I was like, what kind of program is this? You know what I mean? So that's how I met Larry Steele. So to make, and I'll get back to your original question, but that's where, really Larry and Steel Target Paint really catapulted me into the shooting sports, because I wouldn't be able to do what I have done without Larry and the support of the Rainbow Technology and Steel Target Paint family. So that's where my roots are really at, is in a two-gun match in Rimfire Challenge. So Steel Challenge, Rimfire Challenge, woo-wee, very different games. I think that the big difference is, which people like myself and Chris and several others, we exploited a little bit, is the average, well, let's just say a really good shooter coming in, let's say if they're shooting a rimfire rifle or a PCC and they really haven't shot Steel Challenge, they don't have anything for us, because we practice Steel Challenge. It's one of those things where you start to drift into subconscious shooting, and the dot or the sight's always where you expect it to be, and then you're just pulling the trigger. It's a little bit of confirmation, and sometimes you have to make some minor adjustments. Rimfire Challenge, throw that plan out the window. Like this past week, or at this past match, it was very, Jeff, it was, when I say conscious shooting, I mean it was conscious shooting. I mean, there was no point and pull the trigger and all that kind of jazz. So every single stage, there were 16 stages at a world match, and when I'm shooting Steel Challenge, and even a lot of the local matches, there may be 8 or 10 stages. 16 stages, Jeff, I'm just not built for stamina and speed. It's like, yeah, and it seemed like all the targets were far. Maybe it was just me because I'm getting older, and I wish I brought a tape measure. First time I met Rob Elliott, a.k.a. Big Nasty. I know why they call him Big Nasty, because he puts friggin' 8-inch plates out at 45 yards. So, yeah, it's true, right? I'm telling you. So I'm like, I say, hey, Rob, how big's that plate out there? Oh, man, it's 8 inches. I'm like, I can't say what I told him. I said, there ain't no way. Like, 35 yards at 8 inches. Jeff, I'm serious. You pull up, and I do keep a relatively small dot on my rimfire rifle iron gun. I swear to God, the dot covered the plate. I mean, it was very, very technical stages. So, so the difference is, something that you practice like Steel Challenge, that you've got, known courses of fire, and you've kind of figured it out. You shoot them all over and over again, and you kind of drift in and out of the subconscious shooting, and it can be very, very fast and very, very effective. I don't point shoot. There's a couple other folks. Grant and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. He's like, yeah, I'm point shooting, smoking them. I'm like, yeah, how's that working out? He's, sometimes it's a 1-2 and sometimes it's a 3-2, and I said, no, I got you. I got you, brother. That kid's a beast. But so it's very different. But having 7 targets, it's and some of this is my fault, and I went out there to have a good time and all that kind of jazz, and I'm pleased with how I finished. But I'm not as good of a pistol shooter as the best pistol shooters that shoot Rimfire Challenge. Oh, rifle, I can certainly hold my own, and if not, be on in the top handful. But I'm a speed guy, and there wasn't a lot of speed guy type stages, so it was very technical and very challenging. So it's a very, very different match than what I've shot. And I will tell you, Jeff, you shoot a lot of Steel Challenge, you shoot 5 places, like, oh crap, there's 2 more. No?
And you have a max of 11 rounds.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Reload.
Yeah, no, there was, I only did that once with the pistol, and, my buddy Chet Whistle with CWA, yeah, he had to videotape that, and he sent it to me. He said, hey, Steve, why don't you tighten up a little bit? And I'm like, of all the stages I shot, and I shot some good stages, you send me that? He's like, he. I'm like, love you, Chet, like a brother. So that it was definitely different.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I heard throughout your story here is that, you got to start in Rimfire Challenge, and one of the things with Rimfire Challenge is it's really focusing on those young shooters, but those new shooters. And new shooters doesn't necessarily mean that you're under the age of 16. New shooters can be any age, and you're a testament to that, of having started in some way, shape, or form in Rimfire Challenge at definitely an older age, just like I was.
Oh yeah, at that match, Heather, you and I only brought up the average age by like 2 months. I mean, there's a bunch of kids walking around there. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But that, we have seen that a little bit in the Steel Challenge side of the game, where some of these younger shooters are definitely quicker and have come to fame, and a lot of them are homeschooled. A lot of them have, Jeff, you guessed it, a home range.
Yep.
And
there it is.
But they're putting in the time, man. talking with Grant or Chris or Nate Gibson or fill in the blank. I mean, these guys are putting in 5-6 days a week. The Cunningham girls, they're putting in, they're stacking some brass at their feet, and it's not a necessarily a young thing. It's not having a girlfriend, boyfriend, big truck with tires, a mortgage payment, big job,
to support, have to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, why did the ammo stop come? Oh, okay, I'll go buy some more. It's all that too,
So for this last weekend at the match, you've already shared a lot of stories. Do you have a favorite moment from the weekend?
I would say it's probably, I would say the overall theme was extremely positive. Mainly, again, I love Rimfire Challenge and all that kind of stuff, but I really went because my daughter wanted to go, and she had the time of her life. I mean, she was just, chatting it up when she went out there, and at some point I'm like, did I bring her with me? Because where the heck she go? So I'd call her once in a while. Hey, where you at? Oh, with the Fox brothers. I'm like, okay, I'll keep an eye on those guys too. But but she met. She's good friends with Caitlin and Bailey, and she knows Seth and Ian Fox. I mean, she knows Grant, and a bunch of these top-notch young individuals that are just people that she now looks up to, people that I look up to, because I've got a lot of respect for them. But she, met Bella and Issa and Sergio, and just some of the other upcoming shooters, Bryce Jones and Nate and Lance and Connor, and just a bunch of really, really cool people. So overall, that was the theme. But if there was, I've got two close seconds, two specific that kind of merge into one. So Aubrey Hansen is Nate Gibson's mother, and she posted a picture. It was either Saturday night or Sunday into it, where there was, I think it was Bryce and Nate, and I'm not sure who else was there, Connor and somebody else. They were all around my big head because Chet Whistle, he reached out to me. He was like, hey, man, send me a high-resolution picture. And I said, of what, Chet? He's like, no, man, you. I said, what are you going to do, send out Christmas cards or something? He's like, no, man, I'm gonna blow you up. I said, really, that doesn't sound comfortable. He said, no, man, no, I'm going to, I've got the CWA thing, but, I want you, give me a quote, and I want to put your picture on this banner thing. And I'm like, overall, I'll say completely humbled by that experience, and I do have a lot of respect for Chet and what he's doing, and very humbled by the relationship him and I have developed over the last year and a half. I can go more into that at some other time, but I said, hey, Chet, I love you like a brother, and this and that, and I said, has anybody told you yet this is a bad idea? And he goes, hey, Chet's gonna send me some hate mail when I tell him this. He said, yeah, my buddies were telling me I need to get a gun money. He said, when I showed him your picture, that's not what they were talking about. So they put my big head and made it bigger and on a big banner, which I'm very humbled that he has that kind of faith and trust in me, because I love him like a brother. But these guys, they did this kind of like number one thing around me, and she posted it, and I just thought that that was so cool. These young gentlemen are really the future of the sport, and I kid around with Bryce and whatnot, that those guys are just so good at a young age, and NATO took it overall. People were asking me ahead of time, who's going to win this, who's going to win this? And I said, well, Colby's a stud, right? The guys won it, 4 years in a row? Cole Bush lost him by a quarter second last year. I said, those two guys are tops, but my prediction was Grant, Kunkel, or Nate Gibson. Everybody's like, well, why Nate Gibson? And I said, here's what you need to watch out for, because we all kind of, at least I do, because I'm a student of the game and of the sport, I always kind of keep eyes on and see who's doing what. And I've seen Nate shoot 2 years ago, I think it was, in Alabama. I'm like, holy cow, who's this kid? And he was, I don't know if he's 15 now or 16 now, Hopefully he gets a, parents need to buy him a car.
Girlfriend, car,
yeah,
scholarship,
yeah.
School.
Aubrey, are you listening to me? Are you hearing me now? But I saw him shoot when he was like 13 or 14 years old, and I was like, holy cow. And I called Cole Bush at the same time because he was a beast a couple of years ago in Alabama. And people are like, you think they're that good? And I said, you know, if they've gotten this good this quick and they put in the same dedication, we're talking world champions here, folks. Grant dropped one stage. He dropped one stage, or he may have been top one or top two, but hats off to Nate Gibson. He shot a heck of a match.
Heather, let me turn it around on you. You know, the president of the organization, very involved in the match. What was your number one memory from the match?
Oh boy, now I'm going to have to stumble, kind of like Steve there, and there's probably several of them. I think for me, overall, just the fact that as a Rimfire Challenge community, how everybody came together and we could, as a community, support the match, have fun at the match. Everybody had a grand time. I walked around as much as I could to talk to people, and everybody was enjoying themselves, and people were pitching in when we got there. People were calling me weeks before, hey, I'm going to be there early, you have anything for me to do? So just the fact that this community came together and helped to make this match a success, I think is really probably the biggest probably memory or best memory of the event.
Hey, that's a good memory. That's a good memory to have.
Hey, Jeff, can I answer that question for Heather? Because I've got a favorite Heather moment.
Okay, let's hear it.
She was kind of involved in. Man, I'm telling you what, this was out of control. You saw some of the hype out on Facebook. I mean, Larry made this video about challenging Brian and Big Nasty in this, this cowboy
action.
You know, at some point in time, I was thinking that was the only thing going on at this Rimfire Challenge Championship. This is like a cowboy match. I'm like, honey, where's my hat at? I'm like, I need to get some guns because I went in on this. And Larry and I were talking about that tonight. I'm like, hey, man, I'll ask Heather about the mechanical thing because I'm not sure if I can shoot a 5-shot revolver, 6-shot revolver. But my favorite Heather moment involved Larry. So these guys were a bunch of hams, and when it came to Rob, who announced it?
Rob.
Was it Rob that announced Larry as the Cowboy World Championship? He kind of like, I don't know if he bumped Heather kind of playing around, but right behind Heather was this, trophy. And it's kind of funny seeing Nate, I call him Nate Dogg, Nate Gibson holding this trophy because it's like half the size of Nate. So Larry kind of nudges Heather and holds up Nate's trophy that hasn't been awarded to Nate yet. We got a new champion! And I was like, put it down, Larry. I'm telling you, Jeff, it was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
That falls in line with Brian getting the award for being the best dressed in cowboy, and me having to remind him that he had to wear pants under the chaps.
I think that was a good reminder, even he didn't need it or not, because with Brian, you never know. Never know.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm glad you brought that because a huge thanks to Larry for stepping up and signing up for Cowboy and being willing to stick with it, because at one point he's like, so did you actually get enough people? And it's like, yes. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this. So, there's definitely been a renewed interest in it, which is really exciting to see. And we're actually, as a board, we're already looking at mechanical and is there opportunities to bring that back? No guarantee, but, there's things we have to look at and figure out the rules around it and all that. But there's definitely renewed interest.
Heather, you need to bring back mechanicals. I'm not sure. What was Larry shooting? He was shooting like there were 5 or 6 shot, 22
I think there were 2 6-shot. And the other guys were shooting a single 10-shot revolver. He, on top of that, he took first place shooting 2 6-shot revolvers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's some talent there.
Oh, he can, and I would say I didn't watch Big Nasty shoot, but I saw Brian with Hunter's HC Gold running the lever, lever action, and Larry was shooting, was it a Winchester model 94-22? He was running, I'm telling you what, Jeff, I don't know if he short stroked that thing or whatever it was. He was running that thing like a boss. I'm like, oh, okay now. All right. You may need to bring that to the next Steel Challenge match, shoot rimfire rifle iron with that thing. Yeah. He was rocking and rolling with that thing.
Well, next year, enough that maybe we'll be able to see 22 Plinkster out there shooting some mechanical or cowboy action, since he is a big lever action gun shooter. Shoots a lot of Henry, so we might be seeing some Henrys out there next year.
You know, I've got a Henry, and I've got a Heritage pistol. I never even considered shooting them in a competition, but who knows? We don't get a lot of Rimfire Challenge down here in Florida, but you know, have car and guns may travel.
Oh yeah, Plinkster was already talking smack with Larry about, okay, I'm going to come and get you. Larry's like, oh, you think so, boy? Oh yeah, no. So Larry says, why don't you start off and get yourself a Winchester 94 22? And Plinkster like came out of character a little bit. He's like, hey Larry, I've got a thing going on with Henry, and so I'm not picking up no Winchester. He says, all right, you better bring that Henry then, boy. I'm going to smack you around with it. Yeah, so it's already begun.
Yeah.
It's already begun.
So, yeah, huge thanks to Larry for stepping up to do that, and thanks to Brian Connolly for me being able to twist his arm a little bit to encourage him to come out and participate. And he swore that he would take fourth place. And with only 3 guys shooting, it's kind of hard, but I kept telling him, no, you'll at least take third, and he did. So, for me overall, I mean, this goes back to the whole community and how great this community is and the fun we have, because everybody's just enjoying themselves. I mean, Steel Challenge is a lot of fun. We can have a lot of fun, but there's a point in time where everybody gets kind of the serious mode. I don't see a whole lot of that going at Rimfire Challenge. Even though you have some really great shooters out there, everybody's still having just a lot of fun, like we're one big family picnic.
You know, Steve and I had we've talked to a number of people, and this is a game, this is a hobby, this isn't a job. Although I'm sure as president of the RCSA, you feel sometimes like it's a job, but that's in a different position. But, as shooters, we're spending money to do this. And if you're not having fun, you really got to step back and go, why am I doing this? Because it should be about fun.
Yes.
We can have bad stages, you can have bad matches, and that's okay. But if you're not having fun, at the end of the day, you got to stop and you got to think, why am I doing this? Maybe I need to find something else.
Exactly. So I have one more question for you, Steve, about the weekend. Well, maybe 2, but for sure one. So we're after going through this event, having more technical stages, and you talked about how you go around asking people how you do, and everybody's like, oh, I'm not really sure, because you can't really correlate this to Steel Challenge. Overall, were you surprised or disappointed by your overall placement, because you managed to pull out, I think, 11 overall?
Yeah.
If I remember right?
It was, yes, I was 11th overall, 8th in open, and 10th in limited. And I was very surprised because I put 0 prep into this, and I knew that, just going from the 5 target presentation to a 7 was going to be a big change. I did not expect 2 things. I didn't expect every stage to be 7 targets. Maybe, I think they're all 7. And I didn't expect all of them to be, technical. There was probably 1 pistol stage that was relatively quick. Let's call it 2 that were relatively quick. The rifle stages overall, there was 1 that was semi-quick. And I think I shared this with Jeff the other night. I was BSing with him on the way home, and I was telling him it's kind of like, Jeff, imagine Smoke at Home but out at like 40 yards or 35 yards, and then add 2 more 18 by 24s on either side. It's when you pull up the gun, it's like, oh yeah, that should be quick, but you're talking long shots and transitions. I think I got one down in the 250 range, which at that distance I thought was a smoke and run. But what I vacillated in and out of is I tried to push it. So everything was very, very conscious shooting besides one of the pistol stages. That was kind of the fast one. It was kind of like you went up 3 targets, down 3 12-inch targets. I was like, oh, my God, they do have 12-inch targets. They used them all on one stage, Jeff, but they had them. And, that one was a little bit more, in my wheelhouse, subconscious type shooting, but the rest was very, very calculated. I mean, and there was a lot of, when we talk about technical, there was a lot of smaller targets out further, but there was also speed traps. There wasn't enough to really get stuff going. So you had maybe a 10-inch plate to an 18 by 24, then into an 8-inch plate, and you're talking, let's say it's 20 yards. I don't know if it was 18 or it felt a little bit farther than pendulum. So you really, you had to have very control and a lot of discipline. Where I went a little bit wrong is because, again, I'm not as quite of a confident as a pistol shooter as I'm a rifle shooter. So when I started on pistols, I was like, holy cow, this is... And so, first one I went 1 for 1, and the second one I'm like, yeah, let me turn up the juice a little bit because I don't think a 3.75 second run's going to be good. And then it seemed like the majority of the times when I pushed it just a little bit, I picked up a couple misses and I just couldn't get there. And so if I would have shot as consistently as I do in the Steel Challenge, I would have been in the top handful, maybe top 5. I just had way, way too many pickups, both in pistol as well as rifle. And, so based on my own performance, like, man, I'm going to be lucky if I'm in the top 20. And somebody come over shaking my hands like, hey, man, you did good. I said, what am I, like 25 or something? Because when you really looked around, I would say that you had you had a ton of world champions ahead of me, and you had some world champions behind me on the list. So there was a ton of exceptional shooters there, and to be 11th overall, I was very, very happy with that result.
Well, and on our squad, we had several new shooters. I think we had 3 new shooters to Rimfire Challenge, one of them being 22 Plinkster, and he was really nervous. And, of course, he's better at certain guns than others like you, and he kept saying, oh, Heather, you're going to beat me. I'm like, no, you're doing good. You're doing good. He ended up beating me this match. First time out shooting Rimfire Challenge.
But somebody like 22 Plinkster, I've worked with some people that are long-range precision shooters, Olympic style, that type of thing, and they end up being the best students when it comes to Steel Challenge because they have all the fundamentals. They just need to get out of their own way and be able to shoot at speed. And so I found teaching people like that, oh, yeah, this guy that's coming back here in a couple of weeks, I won't mention his name, but he came down to me. He's like, oh, yeah, I shot 5 or 6 matches, and, we got him out there. He's going 1 for 1. I'm like, yeah, okay. I was like, all right, you got second gear in that thing, or are you going to stay down there in first gear? And he classed up in the 2 major rifles in his first match, and he'll probably bump up to another class. So he'll be, if he's not master right now, he will be. But if he puts in the time and effort, I would say in 6 months he'll become a grand master in Rimfire Rifle Open and PCC Open because it's just, he's got all the technical stuff. You just got to learn how to shoot at speed, and, you got to get outside of that comfort zone. So I think Plinkster would be the same way. So Plinkster, if you want to come on down, you got an open invite. I'll make you fast, at least faster.
Well, see, I think Plinkster wants to have all the targets like poker chip size, because then he knows he could hit those.
See, there were a couple times he said, if you put playing cards out there, I will be able to hit them.
Absolutely.
Well, that is all the questions that I really had tonight. So thank you, Steve, for your participation in the event. It was great to see you there. Jim, you don't do Rimfire challenges much, but that's how you start, so it was really great. And Jeff, we expect to see you out there next year.
Yeah, it's life got in the way. New job, all that kind of stuff, and it's just tough to get around. I did actually Google the address for the range, and it was 12 and a half, if not more, hours from the house, and I went, that's a tough drive. Might even been 14, and so I had to pass. But hopefully I can get out there. Maybe save a little money, and I'll fly out there next year. Is it going to be in the same place next year?
That has not been decided yet.
Okay, so still working on that.
Yes.
Heather, did you know that South River Gun Club is an excellent facility and it's like 15 minutes from my house? I'm just saying, Jeff. We're just, we're all friends here, just talking, right?
If it's at South River, I'm going to come up and I'm going to stay in the Steel Challenge shed at the range.
Absolutely.
And take advantage of that backyard range there and go
Exactly.
practice, yes. He'll just sleep under the stars in your range.
Yeah, I can hear Steve's wife going, "It's 3 a.m. Tell him to stop."
Steve, when is he going home? I don't know. Jeff, you may have to bring the hat with the hair, just saying.
There you go, yes. I'm a new guy. My name is Pierre.
Well, there's two other things, though, Heather, that I want to touch on about the Rimfire Challenge match, that the world match that we just went to. You talked a lot about the people and all that kind of stuff, which I agree 110%. There's some fantastic people. I would say some of the best times, if people are going to a major match like that, is the side match that Larry put on Steel Target Pain and had GT Targets create a couple plate racks, which was very challenging. I mean, that thing was there was people lined up shooting that, which was a great time. And I know Vortex Optics helped sponsor that. And then you came over to the invitation-only tandem cross drag race thing set up that Billy put together and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you didn't even have to shoot it to have a good time. It was absolutely a blast. So if you go to one of these matches and you have this type of setup, you got to go early. But the other thing that I want to say is that I was extremely impressed by is you had big and small companies there. We talked about Chet Whistle, he's not a big company. He had a 10, he had guns, you try them, all that kind of stuff. Put a lot of money out on the prize table. Of course, what's a match without Brian with the Hunters HD Gold? He was there. He had a tent. He was supporting it. Put a lot of money on the prize table. Scott Volkortson had an entourage with him. He didn't have a table, but he was out there shaking hands, kissing babies. You had the Tandem Cross crew, Brian and Jen and Jake and Eric and all those folks out there shaking hands, kissing babies. It was very inspiring from a competitor perspective to really, it just wasn't, hey, I put a couple bucks on the prize table or whatever, but to have some of these business owners that really believe in, Larry, we talked about Larry a lot. He didn't have a table, all that, put stuff on the prize table. Who cares about that? He was out there having a good time with the competitors, and to have that level of support from the industry. Michael Bain didn't shoot. He was over there shaking hands, kissing babies. I think I sold him on the CWA, by the way. But, we were just having it was just great to have that level of support from the industry.
Well, and that even goes as far as, CCI being the title sponsor, providing ammo, donation of ammo to everybody, put a lot of stuff on the prize table, and on top of that, sending somebody like 22 Plinkster there, too, for us to enjoy his talents and have him beat me. So, yeah, I mean, that is one thing that is really nice about this. We have all levels of companies, and we had a lot of people there, a lot of companies there, and that is really nice, and it is just a great atmosphere. And beyond the side matches, the demos that were on with Tippmann Arms demoing some of their guns and JP Rifles demoing one of their new firearms that they're going to be releasing sometime in the near future.
Can we talk about the Unicorn?
Go
do tell, please.
I'm not sure if I can, Jeff.
Waiting to hear.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can, but he had it out there, and I've got pictures. He said, Steve, you post those pictures, I'm going to come for you. And, Dustin's kind of a scary guy, so I can't post any pictures. But,
they did have a new rifle out there that somebody was actually shooting in a match. So there was somebody on my squad that was shooting it, so it was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Jeff, we'll talk after the podcast.
Yeah,
I like it. As soon as the recording's off.
So that just goes to talk about the sport. I mean, just JP having somebody even down there just to have a demo bay and Tippmann Arms. Not only did JP put stuff on the price table and then had the demo bay, and Tippmann Arms put a lot of stuff on the price table and had the demo bay. So yeah, it's just that whole sense of community. All different size companies, all different size donations, all different size support, and just having the companies actually being there and having that representation on site does make a difference to all that. So it's a great environment.
Yeah, you make a great point. It's one thing putting money on the prize table, but having, Billy Striplin, he didn't shoot, but he was there supporting a side match, and he's a one-man show, if you will, and he's such a huge supporter of the Rimfire as well as Steel Challenge. Anytime people ask, he does what he can, and he's doing more than a lot of folks. So it's great to see people like that really step up and help support the sport and give back. It's very inspiring.
So yes, overall a very fun weekend, very, very wonderful experience. I'm glad to have been part of it this year. And glad you could be part of it too, Steve. And Jeff, well, we'll get you there.
Yeah. And actually, Heather, we appreciate you reaching out to us and coming up with this idea. It made a difference in, I think, for Steve to be able to be the interviewee instead of the interviewer. But also it changes it up, and that's what we're all about, bringing as much information out to the community as possible. And so we love that. And anybody else, if you've got ideas out there, reach out. You never know. We might say, yeah, why not? Let's do it. You can reach us on Facebook at the Steel Target Paint Podcast Facebook page, or Steve and I are both on there. Both of us have competitive pages. We'd love to hear your ideas, and, you never know if it's going to work if we don't hear them. So keep them coming.
Hey, Jeff, I've got an idea.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with building a home range? Okay.
No, but that would be great. You know what, Heather, though, while we're on that topic, my home range is not big enough yet to hold the World Rimfire, so that one's out, but South River's down the street. Okay, I wasn't sure if we talked about that or not. But, Jeff, I've got a great idea. I only wish, similar to what Amazon does, I wish Steel Target Paint had an auto delivery program. Oh, that's right.
I think they do.
That's right, they do.
Yes.
So say 5%.
We're signing up for it. The Wyoming Antelope Club is signing up for it. We're going to be ordering, I think, 3 cases a month. And making sure it's there before the major matches, and we'll be good to go.
Perfect. So get 5% off your Steel Target Paint and get free delivery, and you can set it and forget it. I think that's somebody else's slogan, so I'm sure that there'll be a lawyer contacting me. Wasn't it that one guy?
Was it Billy Mays or Ron Popeil? It was one of those guys.
I think it was Ron.
Yeah.
How's Ron doing? Is he in good health, or he's still around?
He had spray on hair and the magic fishing thing and something else.
Chia Pet?
Going way back.
Chia Pet guy?
Might have been Chia Pet, yes.
And we've just now all shown our age because we all know what that is.
Well, did you listen to I was trying to come up last week. I started the episode with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And, of course, a lot of kids probably have never heard of Mr. Rogers. I was trying to come up with one. I was thinking the Banana Splits theme song, and I know the kids would not remember that. So,
Jeff, what the heck are you talking about?
Okay, I'm the old guy. I get it.
I wonder if they make Chia Pet, like, hair for real people. Never mind. I don't know why I just thought of that, Jeff.
Thanks, Steve.
Hey, Heather,
it's good to know you got my back.
I know you support us and you listen to the podcast. Did you hear that one time when I was talking about Jeff had in his kidnapper van, he had a hat with blonde hair in it?
Yes.
Jeff, have you posted that picture? Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do that. The hair has been moved, so I'll have to find it. It's no longer in the van.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was. Well, I was shamed in taking it out of the van. So.
Really? I think. The next time I see you, better be wearing that.
I will. Hey, speaking of which, Area 6 is this weekend. I know you've been kind of on the fence. You're going to be able to make it?
No, unfortunately not. Being gone to Arkansas, and here we got a couple things going on, and heading to North Carolina for my my daughter's surgery in a couple weeks. I told my wife, I'm like, hey, we got Area 6 coming up this weekend. She just stared at me. Didn't even like. And I'm like,
the look.
Yeah, I'm like, did you hear me, honey? And she just kind of stared at me. She turned and walked away, and I'm like, so that's a maybe. Is that what that is?
Say something. Quiet is worse. Just say something.
So I sent her a text message. She says, I don't think that's a good idea right now. I'm like, neither did I. I don't know, Yeah, and I couldn't talk my daughter. I tried sliding her 20 bucks. Hey, do you want to go to Area 6? No, who's going? So.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure from the Steel Target Paint podcast listening community, we all wish your daughter a very successful surgery and a quick recovery.
Appreciate it, Jeff. And Heather, thanks again for being on. We appreciate your time, and you're doing a fantastic job over there at Rimfire Challenge.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the time, and I just do want to call out, it's not just me. There's a whole group of people that are helping, so I get to be the face, but there are so many people behind the scenes that are making this thing work too. So thank you to the community, because it's all their support that helps keep me going. So thank you guys.
It takes a village.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back with another one as soon as we can. Bye-bye.